double ditches on number 5 make this hole look really intimidating, but it isn't. You have to be a really big hitter like Mickelson, even if you have the wind at your back, to make that second ditch. And the first ditch is only about 200 yards up, so long as you don't catch the ball heavy off the tee like he's been doing, you should be able to land it safely in between the two ditches. And this ball has been crushed. That's going to make it all the way to the top of the hill, and he is going to put himself in birdie range again. That's looking good, if a little bit far. He's about 30 feet out. And it looks like a pretty straightforward putt. Again, this is very makeable. A little bit downhill, but other than that, straight, maybe a little bit right. And he drills it. Nice recovery. And a very good birdie. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is a very long par 4, coming in at 474 yards. If the wind is in your face, or you hit a drive in the rough, this easily becomes a 3-shot hole. Or you hit the bottom of the ball again. Maybe you should have spent some more time at the practice range this morning, because he's sure been doing this a lot. It's been killing his distance. Instead of the usual 275 yards I see him hit, he's only hitting his drives between 200 and 230. You usually don't see him hit the bottom of the ball so much. Is it just not his day? Probably just misjudged the wind on that shot a little bit. And he has this for par. And he will tap this in for bogey. A bogey that will erase all the hard work from last hole. To 8. And let's go back to 7. I bet he's wondering what that roar was from number 8, because there was a pretty loud roar back there. This is one of the trickier holes on the golf course. That ball needs to go. It's going to make it over that sand. That's what makes this hole so difficult, is if you end up on the left or the right or the front, you're going to be in the sand. And if you go long, you're going to end up with a very quick bump and run. And this green is also difficult to putt on. Good speed, just not quite the right line. That was a good putt. This makes 160 consecutive holes without a 3-putt. To 8. He learned what that roar was that he heard on the previous hole. It was a hole out from about 160 yards for a deuce. No problems with his driver this time, and that's going to set him up in the same position, if not a little bit farther up. He's got a 5-iron in his hand. He's yelling, "Be the club." But it doesn't look like that was the club. I question that choice as well. So now he's left with this monster of a putt, but as we've seen on the previous holes, these seemingly impossible putts don't seem to be a problem for him. He's been on with his putter all day. And he continues to be on with his putter through this hole. What a gorgeous putt. Now how much he just wishes some of those putts that he made were for birdie instead of par.